to worry about another guy. I know it's just me. If we reverse and fight, but baby makes it alright. She reassures me that I want you to stay. I wanna hold her tight, so she can never leave, and I never wanna let her go. 'Cause I love her so. She makes me real happy, just like she should. No matter what happens.
Hey all, how you doing? Back with another artist interview. Just finished the Saturday Fresh show on Legacy 90.1 FM. I'm going all new jag swing this evening. Gonna be talking to a really cool artist. It's called Derric Gobourne Jr. You can hear his song in the background right now. One of his debut singles. She Makes Me Feel Good. Enjoy the new jag swing. I'll see you, Derric, don't worry. This was the kind of music that I listened to as a teenager, in college. Bobby Brown, Velvet DeVoe, Janet Jackson, Guy, Teddy Riley. This was my soundtrack. Up-tempo beats, love the dancing, love the way the clothes, love the scene back then in the US. Predominantly came out of New York and LA. Some 30 years on though, still get the same vibe with Afro beats. That's why I'm playing Afro beats now. The dancing, the fashion, the funky beats. So yeah, we're going to be talking about new jag swing. We're going to be talking about Derric's new album, Shine. Just enjoy this vibe. Anyway, let's see if we can get Derric up. Derric Gobourne Jr. in the building. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. I'm laughing. I'm listening to this old stuff that I wrote like at 17 and 18. So it's interesting to hear it. I don't listen to it a lot. So
well, you know, we had to start somewhere, and this was one of the tracks that I kind of discovered you back. When was it? 2019, 2018?
Yeah, about then, yeah.
You know, and you've come on, you've progressed so much since then, you know? I mean, I have to say that, you know, you've dropped there's a lot of tracks on this album, this Shine album. There's a lot of interludes, but there's like 23 tracks, 14 tracks, a load of interludes. Did you record a lot of it over the pandemic?
Not as much as you would think. I think over the pandemic, I was writing a lot. I think I was writing a lot during the pandemic. Or, yeah, I'm not writing and producing a lot. And the last of that album, so maybe like half of the album was recorded in January and February. And I was like, I got to get this stuff out because it was finished. I was finished writing and I was finished producing. And I had all the singles out, and I was like, I gotta get this stuff done because I know people are excited and people are waiting now. So,
I mean, the biggest surprise to me back then, in around 2019, when I came across you, was why a guy of because you're considerably younger than me. Why was you doing a sound that, like I said, I was explained to the listeners before, that was from my teenage years, going back 30 years? Why did you want to do new jag swing? Tell the viewers.
I'm a big Michael Jackson fan. I'm a huge Michael Jackson fan. And he's the reason why I started music. And the Dangerous album was so different to me, and I love the sounds, and I'm a student of music. So if I like something, I obsess over it, and I'll learn everything about it. So I was obsessing over the Dangerous album. That's okay. I need to know more of the sound, and I obsessed over who produced this. Teddy Riley. Okay, he created this thing called New Jack Swing. So just started really doing research. And when I was in like ninth grade, I was a backup dancer for this guy named Christopher Eisenberg. And he told me, the first thing the labels are going to ask you is, what makes you different? And so I was like, okay, I got this high top. Uh, I love the 90s. I dress like the 90s. It really was, let's try and see. Let's just see what happens. And then From the Outside came out, and something happened with that. And then She Makes Me Feel Good came out, and then it just went off from there.
Where at the time though, where was you finding the music? Was you going online to listen back to 30 years of New Jack Swing, or was you going in the shops buying it? How was you finding it?
Sometimes it finds me. But a lot of like greatest New Jack Swing songs list, I would study those, and then I would go listen to the albums, and then from there, the stuff that I was listening on, like Google Play Music would request, oh, you're listening to this, you might like this, and just things like that. I would listen to a lot of people's New Jack Swing playlists and find what I like.
Because you just weren't singing on these tracks, you were producing these tracks, and I was listening back then to all them early tracks that you did, and I could hear where you took the drum breaks from, the melodies. It was like a concoction of like my soundtrack back then.
Absolutely. Well, how I made those drum loops, first of all, I was watching this thing on Netflix called Hip Hop Evolution. And they were talking about how Marley Marl would take his favorite kicks and snares and chop them up. And so that's what I did. Because, She Makes Me Feel Good, those snares are straight from Dial My Heart. I just doubled it up, and then I have a snare from Jam right under there. And I think the kick is from Skin Tight by Tony. But, I would do stuff like that. But I learned how to produce out of necessity. I tell people this all the time. I didn't want to produce. I asked somebody to produce a New Jack Swing album for me, and I only wanted 5 songs, but I couldn't pay for it. They were like, this is how much it costs. I was in high school at the time. I didn't have the money. So I was like, I'll just learn how to do it. And here we are, 5 years later.
Now, you just, as well as locking down the vocal, the production sound, you got the dance moves. You got the fashion.
Yeah.
Tell me about all the dance moves, because you can dance, man.
Thank you. I would say dancing was my first love, but visual arts was really my first love. But I danced before I even made any music. And like I said, Michael Jackson is my hero, so of course, I ended up being a dancer. My dad's a dancer as well. He's known around our town for his Michael Jackson impersonation. And excuse me, my mom was really into putting us into things that would keep us out of trouble. So from my 3rd grade to 8th grade, I took ballet. I was a cheerleader. Most of those things because it was a bunch of girls there. So I knew I was going to be the only one with the girls there. So let me go ahead and do this. But it really helped with performance. In my church, they do miming. And so I wanted to be a part of that. And all those really added to my performance. I really studied the greats, Michael Jackson, James Brown, MC Hammer a lot, Bobby Brown, and all the people who I admire, the Nicholas brothers, the Berry brothers, Gene Kelly, and just a bunch of different things that I put together, and it's my style now. So a lot of watching and learning.
It's interesting that, say, 3 or 4 years ago, the R&B sound that was coming out was very trap heavy.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people were complaining that it kind of misses. I'm not saying it should have a 90s feel to it, but they were missing. It's missing that warmth, that feel that I kind of grew up with, and what you was doing. The irony is now, 3 or 4 years later, it's all come back.
Yeah.
We're hearing all these new R&B tracks now, and they've either got 90s samples in, or lyrics, or early Y2K lyrics in. So you're right. It's like you preempted what was going to happen when you came out with, Supremacy, the album, your debut album. How do you feel about that now?
I tend to do that a lot. I've been doing that since high school. I'll do something, and people at first will be like, "What are you doing?" what is that? What are you doing? And then a couple years later, and everybody's doing what I'm doing. And I don't think that it's ever like on purpose. I won't ever say people's copying me. I just am able, I guess, to see trends before they happen. I remember I've been working on Supremacy since 2015. 2016, I really started learning how to produce, and then we all know in 2016, Bruno Mars drops 24 Karat Magic and Finesse is on there. And people are like, oh, Bruno Mars is doing it now. And I'm like, I know it's not that he copied me because, you know, I'm unknown at this point. I don't have music out, but I was able to see that before it happened. So I think by just being myself and just being interested in the things I'm interested in, I'm always above the curve, I would say. I don't really try to do things, even when I'm producing for other artists, when I'm doing maybe contemporary R&B, I try never not to do the same thing that's happening. I try to pull from the things that I like, but also try to see a little bit further. So, yeah.
Before we talk more, and it's interesting you mentioned Bruno Mars there, because when that dropped, I thought, here we go, here's the New Jack Swing revival. Didn't quite happen. But anyway, let's have a listen to the title cut of your new album. Let's listen to Shine.
Ah.
This is WFUNK 95.7 Funk, bringing you over an hour of nothing but the fun.
What the fuck?
I am your host with the most, the Funk Queen, DJ Funk, your mama. Yes, yes, yes. See, we're gonna start this hour of funk off with a new one from my favorite groups, Mr. Nobody Does It Better and the Funky Four.
Woo!
He said, don't talk about it, just think about it, whatever you may be. Whatever you are gonna do, I just shine your light like here. You got to shine in the winter time, in the springtime, or it's fall. You feel the same way you got when there's no sun or it's all.
Well, I could sit here and listen to four or 5 minutes of that. Listen, I can hear the P-Funk influence in that. I can hear James Brown, like you were talking about before. Tell me about Shine and putting that one together.
Definitely P-Funk. I was studying P-Funk so hard for this album. You can hear it all over the bass lines of this album. It's like really into P-Funk. And I was watching a P-Funk documentary, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to mix Parliament with New Jack Swing. And I just had this idea of me talking to the sun and what the sun would say back to me. And here we go, Shine. And I always like one word, very strong one words for albums, Supremacy, Shine. So I was like, that could be a title track. And so that's really how that came out. I had 4 singers on it, or 3 singers. No, it was 4, because it was myself, it was Simone Higgs, Riley Mosley, who some of us know from Teach Me, Ariel Blue, and then I had Mr. Greg Sears from Sounds of Blackness. He's doing a little bass on it, but he's also the opening, talking on the opening and talking throughout the album. So that was a fun song to record. I love recording things with choir sounds. I remember being like, I want this to sound like Parliament. So like we have to say our words like this. We have to have these kind of effects on our vocals. And my engineer, EJ Porter, was very excited. He is a nerd for the same type of music I'm a nerd for. So we understand where we're trying to go with music. It was fun. It was very fun.
It's interesting that, because I kind of went on back then, after I'd got over my New Jack Swing journey and I got into the mid-90s, that's when I started checking out P-Funk, because it's not an easy on-the-ear music genre to just suddenly get into. But because we'd heard a lot of the samples in the New Jack Swing records, it kind of felt the natural progression was to, I was getting P-Funk, I was buying all the James Brown albums up, you know, and it's kind of, you've done that. You did your first album, Supremacy. Now we're hearing the next phase, which is like you say, the P-Funk influence. It sounds like
Absolutely.
you're still going through your journey, you know.
Yeah,
You know what?
absolutely.
I guarantee in about probably 3 or 4 albums time, you'll be going into Afro beats, mate. You'll be
I'm, I
you'll be
really,
listening to
I
Fela
really want
Kuti
to.
seriously, because that's why exactly why I ended up, you know. It's all related. It's unbelievable how related all them beats and structures are, you know.
Yeah, I'm a student of music, so I would love to. I would love to. Of course, you know, I tell my fans that there's always going to be some, you know, influence of New Jack Swing in my music, but I'm a student of music, and as you can see on the album, you know, kind of teasing different things like rock and reggaeton. But yeah, I would love to kind of dip into different things like Afrobeat and whatnot.
I'm telling you that's where you'll end up. Anyway, let's take another track from your album. This one's got a kind of a message. I think it'll cause a debate. This, but this is there goes another one. Let's have a listen
Absolutely.
to it.
Now, really,
The American Academy of Pediatrics, based on available science and literature, recommends against the use of corporal punishment.
Major medical organizations are now definitively stated that there is no compelling evidence that hitting children is the only way to raise polite, disciplined children.
Those background vocals, slick.
That's good.
you say that it's discipline, I say it's unnecessary. I can't be dead that thought, put it in a cemetery. What they really need is your patience and attention. But you wanna put your hands on someone who's so defenseless. We gotta learn to teach them in a different way. Listen to your kids, they have something to say. The only thing we should do with our hands is hug. It's not to raise our kids with love and not pain. Keep hurting our children. Why do we make our babies cry? It's time to start doing some healing, so we get in the cycle. But every time we turn around,
Awesome. The sound of New Jack Swing, touch of P-Funk. You know what I can hear in that? Jam and Lewis style production, circa like 1991, 92, when they developed their swing sound, you know. I can hear it in that track.
Absolutely. That was a heavy influence during this album. We can hear it on songs like The One. But that song absolutely also was very, very inspired by the Bobby album, 1992. All Day, those types of how funky that sound was. And also, I know a lot of my friends right now, and a lot of people are talking about how funky the song is, but it has a strong message. And sometimes I don't really like to do songs that have heavy messages with heavy music, like ballads, because it's sometimes
Talk
it's
about the subject, because the subject is about smacking kids. Where did that come from?
oh, I'm notorious for being against corporal punishment. I especially in our community, in the Black community, it is such a big thing, and it's kind of looked at as if you don't, then you're not Black. And I just think that there are so many other ways to raise children besides hitting them, because we hit children and it's okay, but if you hit adults, now that's a charge that's against the law, and it's just kind of backwards to me. So that's a part of my fight, and I use my music, like Make Time for Love, songs like that, to raise money to do more research and help more children who are neglected or maybe going through child abuse, and yeah.
It's good, man. It's good.
Thank you.
I mean, America it's a whole different place for laws. It's there's some crazy laws going on in there. Tell me about. Let's switch up and go with the ballad "Warm." Tell me about that one.
So I was done with Shine. I was done with writing Shine, and I had a different song, and it was called When I Say I Love You, and it was about my friends. I was getting older, and I was really starting to experience adult friendship, and it felt really good. And I wrote a song about it. And when I say I love you, I mean that. And so I had a listening party with, part of Shine. It wasn't all recorded, but it was pretty much there so people could hear it. We had a listening party for me to see how people react to things. And people didn't really respond to that song how I thought they would. Musicians loved that song just because of the chord progressions. But so I was working on another album for somebody else. And I did that beat. And I had my dancers, one of my dancers, Dale, he's into music now and he writes very well. I said, Dale, I have this instrumental. Can you write a song for me for somebody else? He wrote it. I fell in love with it. And I sent it to the person, and that person was like, you probably should keep this for yourself because it's just, the harmonies and everything. And to me, I was like, I was thinking about keeping it for myself anyways. So I'm really into jazz music. I'm really into like Take Six and the Manhattan Transfer and the New York Voices and the Four Freshmen and a lot of jazz vocal groups. So the fact that I really got to, play with harmonies on this particular song is really well. And I love ballads. And Dale did a great job writing it. It's a beautiful song. And it's one of my favorites on the album.
Well, when we go back to all them classic New Jack Swing albums, we always check for a ballad near the end, We always, there's always one. And I was looking for one on A and it had to go, and then it came at the end and I'm like, Derric, you've done it, man. Let's have a listen. Smooth as you like.
The silent days, the lonely nights, the world is cold, but it's alright. 'Cause you'll be there to keep me warm. You're nice to blame for troubled times, and all the spark I'll give you love. I'll hold you tight within my arms, and I'll keep you through the hard times. I'll keep you. Times when you say I need you. I'll keep you.
Well, we got a vibe of that. Warm from Derric's new album, Shine. We're discussing it today. Derric, where are you from?
I am from Sarasota, Florida. The sun's shiny in this place.
Wow. What do your peers, what do people, your friends, what do they think of what you're doing, your sound?
Oh, they love it. Sarasota is the circus city. It's where the Ringling Brothers, the Ringling Brothers really built this city. So they have a mansion here, which is a museum, but it's an arts town, which means it's a lot of artsy people and a lot of different people, and us outsiders and us weird people. But they love it, and they're very supportive. And I think to them, it's a breath of fresh air. Like to anybody who's a fan of what I do, it's something different, a fresh breath air, a fresh breath air, breath of fresh air. But yeah, yeah, and I love going to the studio. My friend Sydney, who was on Janice, he has his own studio, and I love going there. And I love sitting there and listening to the people who come by. Shout out to Big Peso and Ezekiel and all the people who just come by, and I really vibe off of them. A lot of them, they might do like the trap sound or whatever's happening now, but I really learn a lot from, just listening to other people and watching their process.
I'm just interested to know, did any of like the past New Jack Swing artists, did any of them hear your music or reach out to you?
I've been talking to a couple. I wanted to get a couple on my album, but of course, Greg Sears from Sounds of Blackness, who lives here now, is a great friend of mine, and he's such an amazing guy. He's so amazing. Mr. Greg is so amazing. D. Reed from from wow, I'm going blank. Jade, D. Reed, the lead singer of Jade. I talked to her a lot. She's so sweet. She is such a sweetheart. She was supposed to be on Fast Cars, but we didn't really get that worked out. And hopefully, I get to do some music with her. Sweet Lady D from Oaktown 357. I've talked to her a couple times. All these people who I'm talking to, Timmy Gatlin, and Tevin Cameron, and then people who just reached out. They are Mellow Man Ace. They're such sweet people. And they have really humbling spirits and really humbling hearts. They're great people. And you find some of these older artists in this place where they're confused because they're feeling washed up because they're not getting those calls anymore. They also know that they're legends, so they're kind of conflicted. But these people who I talk to, they're so humble. They're like, I'm so honored that you reached out to me, or that my music has inspired you, and they know what they did, and that now they're going to give it to the younger generation. But it's beautiful. The community is beautiful.
I think the main issue with a lot of them artists from that period is they've kind of struggled with getting to grips with social media.
Absolutely.
There's so much stuff out there that could be heard that isn't being heard. That it's like you say, it's legendary, it's great stuff, but it's not on Spotify, it's not on Apple. There's this whole labyrinth of New Jack Swing that your generation still needs to hear. Anyway, let's play another track, then we'll talk about it. This is bizarrely called Color Haired Girls. You can tell me about
Blues, night shoes in the nighttime like the bright moon. When it's right noon, she don't even think it's the right move. I'm the right dude, that's slight news. I have an addiction with the mixing. Phone calls coming from home because I'm missing. Promise I'm not dissing, but I'm listening. Your girl, she was playing double, she was listening. She was like in the way that we was kissing. My eyes glistening, shoulda slapped my wrist there. Smile all face like snuff to a Michelin. Wanna slow down like dance to a Michelin. Cooling all alone. Then a ringing comes through on my telephone. My baby picks it up after it rings twice. She said, I know you love him, but you got to know it's mine. I said, I got to stop wasting this time. I got to leave these shoes alone.
that kind of melody's early Teddy Jean Griffin there. You can hear it.
I got to stop messing with this time. 'Cause you ain't with my baby. You ain't with my home. It's the
Well, there's always a crazy, crazy track on a New Jack Swing album. That's the one on yours. Tell me about that record, Color Head Girls.
So I don't know if this trend has come over to the UK yet, but and I don't know what kind of girls y'all would call these type of girls, but I guess the Cardi B's of our generations, they all have these colorful wigs. And my older sister has a bunch of friends like this, and I saw them all together, and I'm like, I want to write a song about y'all. And I wanted to stay away from words like hood or ghetto or ratchet, because those are synonymous with black people, and it's not just black girls. It's any girl who is this type of girl, which is hard to explain. That's why I just wrote it in the song. But the boom, dum 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 dum, and the clapping and all that, Stevie Wonder all day. Sure. Stevie Wonder all day. And I love old jazz records who don't take themselves seriously, like Louis Jordan or like Fats Waller. I'm in love with Fats Waller. So the kind of these songs that the music is serious. This is serious stuff, serious chords, but the song it's comical. So I love stuff like that. Color Head Girls is another one of my favorite songs. The harmonies as well, and Stevie Wonder is very good at writing technical things musically, but his melodies are simple. It's just, I got this time and some of these color head girls. The beat was so different. It was so different when I first did it. It was very close to 24 Karat Magic, And I was like, I need something that swings hard. So I had to go in there and redo it and add some live guitar. But it came out great. I love it.
There's one guy we haven't mentioned yet, and he's a huge influence on this next record. I think if you ever heard this, he's passed away now, sadly, but if you ever heard this record, let's just play it, actually. Let's just play it. Talking about Prince.
Absolutely.
At night, I wish to back star that you feel me when you're off the complicated, which I can say. The words I really mean to you, so that you know my love is true. And you apologize that I have kept you waiting. But if you fall into my love, I will count you every time. I wanna give you all of my love. If you stay on me, I wish I knew just how.
You know what? We're sadly in an era now where Prince isn't here, Michael Jackson's not here, Whitney's not here. It's almost like all the greats have gone, you know. There's still a few, I mean, serious greats, you know. Tell me about, I mean, the thing about this record is when you actually released this, it was like, whoa, I didn't expect that. But in the context of the album and the interludes, it makes perfect sense when you're going down listening to the album, because the interlude before that kicks in, it introduces it greatly. But tell me about Sad Boy Hours.
This is such an interesting story. I guess I'll talk about how I wrote it and then the release of it. I had met this girl at a party July 4th at the beach. My brother had took me to. Very beautiful girl. These are these parties that, you know, people drink a lot and they're always passing out at these beach parties. So I'm the type of person where I'll check on people. So she was just sitting there and she was very spaced out. And I was like, are you okay? Is everything okay with you? She's like, yeah, I just broke up with my boyfriend, but it's very sweet for you to come check up on me. We exchanged numbers. She's the type of girl who is very nice. And then if I like you, I'm going to let you know like 24/7. Like,
Wow.
I'm
So
going
you
to
don't
let
hold
you know.
back then. So you don't
Yeah,
hold back then.
No, I gotta let
Yeah.
you know. Cause the worst thing you can do is say no, and I'll be like, okay, cool. So she's the type of girl who is nice, so nice to the point where you're like, I can't tell if you're flirting with me, or I can't tell if you're just this nice of a person. So I was downtown, and this is so interesting. I was downtown. I was walking after rehearsal, and I heard that in my head. I wish I knew just how you feel, and I recorded it. Right after that, I saw her downtown.
Wow.
So already I'm like, that's divine. And
Is
I
that
named,
fate or is it coincidence?
I don't know. I have no idea, but it's divine. And so I named it 1111 just because I said I wish. And then, I don't know if this is a trend down there in the UK, but in America at 1111 we make a wish. And so when I started trying to finish the song, Ariel, Blue, and Riley Mosley helped me out because I wasn't in that headspace anymore. But I looked at the date I made that, and it was November 11th. And I was like, that's even more weird. So, and we finished the song. I was very inspired by 2000s rock and Beach Boy, like 70s, like all that type of punk rock. I really love that type of stuff. And so I was like, this needs to be a rock song. I've always wanted to have a rock song on my album. So I did that, recorded it a whole year later, didn't know it was 11/11, the same date. So I was like, this song is just divine, and I know that this is the lead single. Because what Michael Jackson used to do, he'll throw The Girl Is Mine or I Just Can't Stop Loving You out there. People be like, this is not what we expected. And then he'll throw all these other singles. And people were not really, my Japanese fans were like, we don't know what this is, and we weren't expecting this. We waited a whole 2 years.
I kind of felt like that, you know. It took me a few plays to get into it, you know.
Mm-hmm. It just came out of nowhere. People we're waiting a whole 2 years for that, and then this is what we get. But now people really like, especially with the context of it in the album, people really love this song. I think it's a great song. I think it's one of my best written songs.
Well, it's interesting that you're telling a story there about meeting a girl that you kind of really liked, that you was feeling, because this next track, which we're going to play now, for me, this is the key New Jack Swing track. We need you to do a video of this. Before we talk about it, let's play it. Woo!
I'm so in love with you. My head is such a mess. Love and tenderness. I've got so much to do. My heart won't give it a rest. Oh, when I think about how you touch me, baby, my heart is overdrive. When I think about how you give me, baby, it makes my heart go wild, girl. No one can stop my heart from loving you. And you got my head rocking. And you got my heart knocking. No one can stop my heart from loving you. And you got my head rocking.
What a jam.
You got my heart knocking.
You know something? Anyway, if you just join us on the live, we're talking to Derric Gobourne Jr. He's got a new album out called Shine. Very much in the New Jack Swing genre, from the late 80s, early 90s. Loving You, that jam has got the cookies and the cream. Tell me about that one.
Can you guess the influence on the production? I want to see if you can hear it.
Say that again, sorry.
I want to see if you can guess who influence is all over that production.
It's Babyface.
Absolutely. Oh, damn it.
Don't test me on the New Jack Swing, man. Don't test me, man.
So since Supremacy, was like, I need to learn how to write and produce like Babyface. Don't Be Cruel is the standard New Jack Swing album. That is standard. And I need to learn how to write songs like this. And one day, I just was playing with drum loops. Whatever that drum loop was and the percussion, just was playing with it. And so I started doing the bass line, boom, 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 boom. I said, oh yes, this is the Babyface one. And so I was really into Jermaine Jackson's You Said album. And like those songs, like You Said, and Dream, I Dream of You, all the like Lucky Charm, Down My Heart, the Damian Dame stuff, of course the Bobby Brown stuff, but that is what I was heavy into at the time. And I think music is a diet. Whatever you put in, you're going to put out. And so that is what happened. Even the way I wrote the song, I know Babyface loves to open with lines like, girl, da, da, da. It's like, but that it's interesting. It's always the third track, which I am always attached to, but I don't think people are going to like it in that way that people are always into. I've Got Love and Loving You. People are really excited about those songs. People have been hitting me up saying like, this album is great, but Loving You, that's the one. And but like you said,
that's your Bobby Brown moment on the album, I think.
Absolutely.
Every step moment, you know.
Absolutely, and I think because it's so New Jack Swing, it's so traditionally New Jack Swing.
I can see you in the video with that girl you was talking about, walking along the street. She's looking hot, and you're doing the Michael Jackson and the Bobby Brown moves. Do that for us. Give us that memory again, Derric. You got to do it.
Absolutely, I am thinking about 4 or 5 more videos for this album, so that is definitely a video that we have to shoot and a song that we have to push because people are really loving that song. which I didn't really expect. So.
Awesome. Now, your first album did come out as a CD in Japan, which I was so excited about. Are you gonna do any physical copies of this album? Can
Absolutely.
you afford to get it out there on a physical release?
Absolutely. We released the first album with P-Vine, and so they took care of all the physical copies and whatnot, and having the album in stores and whatnot, which I really wanted to do this time. I had a hard decision that I had to make. It's like, do I want to try this on my own, or do I want to just do what's comfortable? And what made me realize I could do it on my own is when my Christmas album went #6 on the Japanese R&B and soul charts, and that was something that Supremacy hadn't done. So I was like, okay, well, I know I could push this myself, which it would have been so good to see, my album in stores and with billboards and all that. But I think that all artists, because I was spoiled. That was my first album. I didn't have to learn how to market, and when I did, it was really hard. So I think that all artists should learn that, how to market and how to release your own music. But yeah, we're definitely going to do some physical copies. I think we're going to do a limited edition of vinyl copies, and definitely, I definitely want to hold it in my hand and see the copy because I love the album cover. So.
Well, listen, we got time for one more track. You can choose. We got Constant Thing here. We got we played that. There Goes Another One. We got Fast Cars and Make Time for Love.
Oh, let's do Constant Thing. I love that song.
Let's play that then.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Big New Jack Swing sound this.
Baby, put your trust in me. And never play with your heart.
Oh, baby, tell me if it's true. 'Cause boy, I want to believe you. If we go for it, I'm meant to do. I should've known from the start.
Baby, I can sketch this out.
Why don't we break up to make up? And we say we're done forever, just go in and back together. We're constant game. And we're constant flame. Oh no, you know I know anything.
You know what, Derek? There is a trend at the moment for very short 2-minute tracks, and I'm glad that you've not followed that trend. You've kept the build up, the melodies, the bridges. They're all there. 4 or 5 minute long tracks,
Yeah.
Raps, the mid-8.
People talk about that. My friends, they joke with me about how long my intros are. But I tend to write songs like I'm going to perform them. So if I know I'm going to have a dance break here, and then again the diet. I put out what I put in. So I listen to stuff with bridges and we go all these New Jack Swing songs where they have musical interludes and raps and solos and all this kind of stuff. That song holds such a special place in my heart. I wrote it when I was 19. I was very into the Boomerang soundtrack.
Amazing soundtrack.
I love it. So it's all over that. And that's my first duet. I wanted to duet on Supremacy, but that fell through. But that's my first duet, and I held that song for so long because I wanted the right person on it. And Tasia, she's such a beautiful soul. She's a beautiful person, physically, but she's also just a beautiful soul. I tend to surround myself with people like that unintentionally. But I wouldn't have wanted to do that song with anybody else. And this is my most popular song since She Makes Me Feel Good. People really like this song, and I love it. It holds a special place in my heart.
Well, listen, what we're going to do is, you know, like you always get the bonus track at the end of an album?
Absolutely.
We're going to have a bonus track at the end of the interview. Let's play this one. Fast Cars.
Yeah.
It's the album. What's that? Check. 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 I know what you can do. Let's say some fun for you. Notice that because it's always right and there. Got enough gas to get you where you wanna go. Yeah, yeah. Every guy's had a test drive to say that she's a sports car because he ready takes it so far. Yeah, yeah.
Is that your vocal?
Absolutely.
Wow. You flipped it there.
Just pass by your brother, give it a high resistance, and about to explode it. I set your hood on fire, yeah, yeah. Take my advice, you better think twice, baby. You better slow down before you burn out your tires, yeah. That's what you get for living fast.
Oh, background vocals.
Fast drivers never get very far. That's what you get for living fast cars. Ooh, fast cars. This is
Awesome, Derric. Awesome.
Thank you.
Oh, Derric, you really made me like relive my teenage New Jack Swing years. I'm so happy that I thought there'd never be like a younger artist who'd come out and make this sound again, and I'm just so glad I found you. You know, so happy.
Thank you so much.
It makes me keep going doing radio. If you know artists like yourself doing this, because I know you need the support. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Listen, how's the streaming numbers done? I believe it's done quite well, quite big. The streaming numbers on the album.
Yeah, I said, what's crazy is last year, May 17th, I said, I didn't know I was going to release my album on May 16th, but I said, I am going to do 100,000 streams on the first day. And so May 17th this year, 100,000 streams, 145,000, and I didn't even finish counting all of them. But what I counted was 145,000 streams on the first day, which never has happened for me before. So that's exciting. Then it hit number 8 on the Japanese R&B and soul albums chart. So it's doing pretty well. People are excited. I didn't know what to expect just because my last album was 4 years ago. And so I didn't know people were still interested, and the sound is so different. I didn't know if people would still be interested, but people are excited about this album. And I'm so glad. So time to get these videos out.
Well, listen, is there anything you want to add or say before we let you go?
Man, to you first and foremost, I just want to thank you for all your support and the great friendship that we have. And I listen to a lot of your, a lot of stuff that you play, and I get a lot of inspiration from a lot of the Afrobeat stuff that you play and a lot of the soul stuff you play. So thank you so much for really helping artists like myself out. And for everybody who's watching, thank you for tuning in. Everybody who's listened to the album, thank you so much. And I'm just so excited to put these videos out. I feel rejuvenated a little bit, and so I can't say thank you enough to everybody. Yeah.
Well, listen, Derric, you've had a great start to the album release week. I wish you the best of luck with this album, and I just hope you keep making music for us.
Absolutely.
But thanks for a great interview, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. It's always nice to talk to you because you know music and you know what you're talking about. So
Thank you.
absolutely.
Derric, take care, my man. Have a great weekend, yeah?
You too.
Salutes. The last remaining New Jack Swing Jedi Knight. Viewers, thank you so much. That's been Derric Gobourne Jr. Shine is out now. Go and get it. It's streaming. You can download it on Amazon, Apple, and all them good places.
Sir.
Take care, my man.
You too, man.
And there he goes. There he goes. Wow, Derric Gobourne Jr. Listen, for everyone tuning in, thank you so much. We'll put this on YouTube, this interview, so you can listen back. We'll do another one in a few weeks. But thank you so much. Have a great weekend, everybody. Bye bye.